All right, so you're prepping for a weights and measures inspector interview.
Definitely a cool job.
Yeah, it is. It is. We're going to dig into some of those questions you might get asked to really help you, really stand out and show off what you know.
It's all about being prepared and, showing that interviewer you can handle this.
For sure. We've got some sample questions here from RoleCatcher's Guide that are likely to come up. Let's start with this one. Describe your experience performing inspections and tests on commercial weighing and measuring devices. What do you think?
This is really your time to shine and show you've got the hands-on experience. Think about the equipment you've used, the processes you followed.
So don't just say, I've used scales and meters.
Exactly. Don't just list things. Walk them through it, like you're actually showing them what you do, step by step. How you check the calibration, use certified weights, do test record everything.
That makes a lot of sense. It really shows you get how important accuracy is in procedures.
Yeah, and this is where RoleCatcher's AI can really come in handy. You can upload your resume and the AI analyzes it, checks it against the job description.
So it's checking for what?
It'll show you any areas maybe you could beef up your experience or highlight specific skills related to those inspections and tests.
Oh, that's smart. It's like having a coach help you tailor your resume.
Oh, man.
Okay, next question. How do you stay up to date with changes in weights and measures regulations? How would you answer that one?
This one's all about showing you're committed to always learning. Regulations change all the time, so you got to show you're on top of it.
So more than I read the updates.
Way more. Be specific. What industry publications do you read? What professional organizations do you belong to? Maybe even online forums or training sessions you attend. How do you learn? Where do you get your info?
Great advice. It shows you're proactive and interested in staying current. And hey, I bet RoleCatcher could help here too, right? Could it help find relevant training or resources based on a specific job?
Absolutely. They've got a huge database that can hook you up with professional development opportunities. Okay, let's try a trickier one. Describe a time when you had to deal with an uncooperative client during an inspection.
Ooh, this is where those people skills are key.
Totally. They want to see how you handle conflict resolution and communication. The key here is to focus on how you calm things down, stay professional, and ultimately got a positive outcome.
So no ranting about frustrating clients?
Nope. Instead, walk them through the steps. What did you do? Maybe you acknowledged their concerns, explained why compliance is so important, and found a way to move forward that worked for everyone.
Shows your diplomacy problem-solving skills, which are so important in this role. It's amazing RoleCatcher's AI can even help you practice answers and get feedback on how you say things. It's like a mock interview with an expert.
It's an amazing tool for really refining your approach. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Talk safety. How do you ensure you are following proper safety procedures during inspections? That's a pretty common one.
Seems straightforward.
Yeah.
You follow the rules, wear your safety gear, right?
Yeah, but you gotta go deeper than just listing your PPE. They want to know you really get safety and understand the potential dangers. So talk about doing a risk assessment before every inspection. Being aware of your surroundings, keeping your work area clean and organized.
Great points. Shows you're proactive about safety. Okay, this next question brings up auditing.
Describe any experience you have with auditing businesses for compliance with weights and measures regulations. What if you haven't actually done any auditing?
Even without that specific experience, you can still highlight your skills. Focus on things like documentation, spotting discrepancies, or implementing those corrective actions. These all show you understand the basics of auditing.
That's a good tip. It's about connecting your skills to the task, even if the experience isn't a perfect match. And this might be another area where RoleCatcher could be helpful, right? Could their AI analyze the job description and suggest ways to emphasize skills, even if you haven't had that exact job title? You got it. Their algorithms are super smart. Okay, let's look at a question focused on enforcement. How do you handle situations where you discover a violation of weights and measures regulations during an inspection?
That feels high pressure. It's about staying professional, following procedures, right?
Exactly. Show them you can enforce those regulations while still working well with the business. So explain how you document the violation, lay it out clearly, and outline what needs to happen to fix it.
Finding a solution, not just pointing fingers.
Exactly. And practicing your answer with RoleCatcher's video feedback can help you sound confident and authoritative, like you're in control even when things are tense. Okay, let's talk organization. How do you prioritize your workload when you have multiple inspections scheduled in the same day?
Time management, that's key in any job, but especially when you're out in the field.
For sure. Think about what you consider when scheduling those inspections. Could be location to minimize travel time, maybe the complexity of the inspections or any urgent requests.
Like a puzzle. figuring out the best way to get it all done.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention any tools you use to stay on top of things, like digital calendars or task management apps.
Shows your tech skills, too. I bet RoleCatcher's AI could even analyze your calendar and suggest the best route or the order to do inspections based on location and type.
The possibilities are endless with AI. Okay, this next question is about leadership. Describe any experience you have with training or mentoring new weights and measures inspectors. What if you haven't officially trained anyone?
That's a good point. Lots of people might have the skills without having the official title.
Right, so even if you haven't led formal training, think about times you've helped colleagues explain procedures or offered guidance. It all shows you're willing to share your knowledge and support your team.
Powerful examples, showing a collaborative spirit.
For sure. Highlights teamwork in the field. All right, last question for this part of our deep dive. How do you ensure that your equipment is properly calibrated and functioning before each inspection? Seems pretty basic, right?
Well, you got to have reliable tools. It's like a chef needing sharp knives.
You got it. But don't just say you check your equipment. Talk about your calibration schedule, how you follow those NIST traceable standards, and any checks you do before each inspection. Emphasize that you keep meticulous records, too.
Those details are impressive. Show you understand accuracy and doing things by the book.
And guess what? RoleCatcher can help with this, too. Imagine using it to track your calibration schedule, get reminders for maintenance, and access resources for troubleshooting. It's like a digital assistant for your equipment.
That takes organization to the next level.
Oh, okay.
We've covered some great questions so far. I'm feeling a lot more prepared for my interview.
Me too, and we're just getting started.
But before we move on, I'm curious about the career path for a weights and measures inspector. What are the different levels and responsibilities? What does advancement look like in this field?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's pretty structured, actually. Most people start as an entry-level inspector, really focused on those inspections and documentation. Then as you get more experience and expertise, you might move into a junior inspector role.
So you start with the basics, build up from there. What kind of responsibilities would a junior inspector have?
At that level, you'd be handling more complex inspections, maybe assisting with investigations, really starting to develop your analytical skills.
Sounds like it gets more interesting as you go. More challenging, too.
Exactly. And that leads to the senior inspector position. You might be overseeing a whole team of inspectors, developing procedures, analyzing data, even representing the department at meetings and conferences.
Wow, so you go from hands-on to more strategic and managerial. That's cool.
It is. And the best part is RoleCatcher actually outlines typical responsibilities for each stage in their career guide. They even have example profiles of people at different points in their careers. Really helps you see where you could go and what you need to get there.
That's so helpful for anyone thinking about this career. Gives you a roadmap. Okay, let's say you're just starting out. What are some practical steps you can take to climb that ladder?
Continuous learning is huge in this field. Take advantage of training opportunities from professional organizations or government agencies. Stay up to date on regulations and inspection techniques.
Makes sense. The industry is always changing.
For sure. And don't underestimate networking. Go to industry conferences, join online forums, connect with experienced people, learn about new trends, maybe even discover new opportunities.
Networking is always good advice, no matter what you do. You mentioned creating a portfolio earlier. How would a weights and measures inspector even do that? It's not like they're designing websites or anything.
That's a great point. It's a little unconventional. Think about the tangible results of your work. You could include inspection reports, compliance documentation, even case studies of investigations where you found and fixed a violation.
Oh, that's creative. Showcasing your skills in a different way. Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. We've got a few more to cover.
We do. And this next one might sound familiar. Describe any experience you have with auditing businesses for compliance with weights and measures regulations. We touched on this before, but I want to give some more advice for those who might not have specific auditing experience.
Yeah, because lots of people might have the skills without having that exact job title.
Exactly. Even if you haven't done formal audits, you can still talk about times you've documented procedures, identified discrepancies, or implemented corrective actions. Those are all key parts of auditing.
Connecting the dots for the interviewer, showing them how your skills match up.
Right. And RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful here. Their platform can analyze the job description and suggest ways to emphasize those skills. Even if they weren't part of your official job title, takes the guesswork out of tailoring your resume and your answers.
Like having a personal career strategist? Okay, what's next?
This one's about enforcement. How do you handle situations where you discover a violation of weights and measures regulations during an inspection?
Yes. We talked about this a bit before. Being firm, but fair. Enforcing the rules, but keeping things positive with the business.
You got it. You want to show that you're professional and committed to following procedures. So explain how you document the violation, communicate it clearly, and outline what needs to happen to get back into compliance.
Finding a solution, not a confrontation.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher's video feedback can be really helpful for practicing this kind of question. You can see how you come across and adjust your delivery to project confidence and authority, even when things are a bit sensitive.
That's a great tool. Okay, what about organization? I'm sure they'll ask about that too.
Definitely. A common one is, how do you prioritize your workload when you have multiple inspections scheduled in the same day?
Time management essential when you're managing your own schedule out in the field.
Absolutely. Think about what factors you consider when prioritizing. Could be location to minimize travel, the complexity of the inspection, urgent requests, deadlines.
So many things to juggle.
Right. And you can mention any tools you use to stay organized, like a digital calendar, task management system, maybe even route planning software.
Showing off those tech skills too. It just hit me. RoleCatcher's AI could probably help with this too. Imagine it analyzing your calendar and suggesting the most efficient route or the best order for inspections based on location and type.
That would be amazing. AI is really changing how we work, and RoleCatcher's definitely leading the way. Okay, let's move on to a question about leadership. Describe any experience you have with training or mentoring new weights and measures inspectors.
Interesting. What if you haven't actually had any formal training responsibilities?
Even without that specific experience, you can still draw on times when you've helped colleagues explain procedures or offered guidance. It's about showing that you're willing to share what you know and support your team.
Those everyday examples are powerful. Shows you're a team player.
For sure, highlights that collaborative spirit. All right, here's the last question for this segment. How do you ensure that your equipment is properly calibrated and functioning before each inspection?
Sounds pretty basic. Got to have the right tools for the job.
Exactly. But don't just say, I check my equipment. Go deeper. Talk about your calibration schedule, how you follow NIST traceable standards and any pre-inspection checks you do. Emphasize that you keep detailed records.
Those details show you're serious about accuracy and doing things by the book.
And guess what? RoleCatcher can help here too. Imagine using their platform to track your calibration schedule, get reminders for maintenance, and access resources for troubleshooting. It's like having a support system for your tools.
Wow, that's a next-level organization. Okay, we've covered a lot on interview questions. But before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier, the potential challenges of this role. What are some of the toughest things someone might face as a weights and measures inspector?
One of the biggest challenges is dealing with those uncooperative clients. Not everyone's happy to see a weights and measures inspector. And some people can be really resistant to the whole inspection process.
Yeah, it's not always fun being the one to deliver bad news, especially when it affects their business. I bet it takes a lot of diplomacy and tact.
Absolutely. You got to be firm, but fair, diplomatic, but assertive. And sometimes even when you handle things perfectly, you might still run into resistance or even hostility.
It's got to be tough. Any advice on staying calm and professional when things get heated?
Just remember to stay calm, professional, stick to the facts. You represent the law, and your job is to ensure compliance. Don't take it personally. And don't be afraid to ask your supervisors or colleagues for support if you need it.
Good point. You're not alone. Are there other things about the job that might be challenging?
Well, the work can be pretty physical sometimes. You're on your feet a lot, lifting equipment, working in tough environments like warehouses or factories. You got to be ready for that.
It's not just sitting at a desk all day. What about the mental side of things?
You need serious attention to detail and the ability to focus for a long time. You also need good problem-solving skills and critical thinking, especially when you're dealing with complex inspections or investigations.
It sounds like you need both physical and mental stamina. But for the right person, it can be a really rewarding career.
Absolutely. If you're passionate about accuracy, fairness, and protecting consumers, and you like a job that combines technical and people skills, this could be it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher one last time. We've talked about how it can help with your resume, interview practice, even equipment management. But how does it actually help someone land a job?
RoleCatcher goes beyond just getting you ready for the interview. It helps you get noticed and stand out from the crowd. Imagine this. You find the perfect job posting, you upload your resume, and their AI analyzes it, compares it to the specific skills they're looking for in that job description.
So it's not just a basic resume checker. It's tailored to each job.
Exactly. It shows you where your skills or experience might be lacking. so you can tweak your resume and highlight the most relevant qualifications. It's like having a personal resume writer who knows exactly what the employer wants.
That's awesome. Takes the guesswork out of applying. What about cover letters? Those can be a pain to write.
RoleCatcher can help with those too. Their AI can help you create a great cover letter for each job, really emphasizing what makes you unique and showing that you're genuinely interested.
I hate writing cover letters.
Hmm?
This is a game changer. But even with a perfect resume and cover letter, the interview is still the most important part. How does RoleCatcher help you get ready for that?
Well, we talked about how they have tons of practice questions and insights into what interviewers are looking for, but they also have this AI-powered video practice feature. You record yourself answering questions and get personalized feedback on how you sound, what you say, even your body language.
Like a mock interview with a pro, but in your own home. That's so cool. What about after the interview? Does RoleCatcher help with that too?
You bet. Their platform helps you keep track of your applications, organize your contacts, even explore different career paths. It's a complete tool that supports you through the whole job search.
That's amazing. RoleCatcher sounds like a must-have for anyone serious about becoming a weights and measures inspector.
I totally agree. It's like a secret weapon for your job search.
Well said. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of weights and measures inspectors. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring. We've covered everything from the technical stuff to the people skills and even how AI is changing how we find jobs.
Remember, with the right knowledge, skills, and tools, you can totally rock a career in this important field.
Maybe someday you'll be the one inspiring the next generation of inspectors, keeping things accurate and fair in the marketplace. Until next time, keep those gears turning.